I spent 2.5 years trying to transform my body in my late 40s and early 50s, and I just didn't see results until I did some big changes to my exercise routine, which I'm going to share with you today. What is better for menopause fat burning? Cardio or strength training? I am going to share with you the quickest way to melt menopause belly fat, which has worked for over 13,000 women that have joined my program and got great results. Hello fam, my name's Melissa Neal and I'm the CEO of Body by Bikini, and I have helped over 13,000 women transform their bodies and their entire lives with this method that I'm going to share with you today. And I'm going to share with you how you can take part in my free workshop specifically about belly fat for women over 40, 50, 60, 70 and beyond. But first, let's dive into what is better for burning menopause fat. Is it cardio versus weights? Cardio at times has been my best friend, but also it's been my arch enemy. In my 20s and 30s, cardio was amazing. I used to add in long distance running and I would just magically strip fat away. Fast forward to my late 40s, and you can see the picture here, and in my early 50s, I was doing tons of long distance running, like 20, 30 miles a week. I was actually competing for half marathons at one point, but I didn't lose fat. I actually gained fat. At the time, I was lifting weights, but not very much, and I didn't prioritize it. I did way more endurance cardio than I did weights, which was a massive mistake, because the problem with that is cardio is actually cancelling out the benefits of weightlifting, which we're going to talk about later in this video. For menopausal women, too much endurance training, so that's stuff like running, going out for long runs, doing kind of an hour or more of any kind of endurance cardio is overtraining. Your recovery suffers. You need far more recovery time at this stage in life, by the way. Your hormones tank, and you just can't build any muscle if you're doing more than an hour of intense cardio every single day. For me, the chronic intense cardio actually drove up my stress levels. I had poor sleep, soreness, and more body fat and less visible signs of lifting weights, even though I was doing it probably a couple of times a week. But the cardio I was doing was actually a massive blocker for me seeing success, and I didn't see it at the time. I kept on doing more and more cardio and dropping my calories down lower and lower, and I just wasn't seeing results. Now, fast forward to now, so beyond the 2.5 years that I've spent failing, and then when I found success, I started sharing it with women on this channel and actually built my own programs. And I've now helped 13,000 women over 40. And what I can tell you is endless endurance training is the least effective cardio. And there is some cardio that I'm going to recommend, but I'm going to talk about it later in this video, because first, what we're going to talk about is why you need muscle. What you need to do is shift your mindset around the idea of burning calories with your workouts, and instead shift your mindset to building muscle, a muscle first training approach, because it's the elixir of youth. It's the best anti-aging supplement or exercise you can do, and importantly, it will burn menopause fat, including your belly fat. You see, your hormones have shifted as you age, and so what worked in your younger days is less effective. So that's why I found the running that I did, it was really great in my 20s and 30s. In my 40s and 50s, really didn't work, and it actually had the opposite effect and caused me to gain weight. For all those reasons I've talked about, the higher cortisol levels, less recovery time, less sleep, and generally a lot more inflammation, because the hormones have shifted as you age. And as well as that, you've lost 1% of your muscle mass every single year after the age of 40. So what you want to do is have a strategy for building that muscle back up. This is because muscle burns fat. Even when you're just sat around, when you're sleeping, when you're twiddling your thumbs doing nothing, muscle is actually burning calories. And cardio doesn't really do that. Cardio only works while you're doing the actual exercise. If you have a muscle-centric approach to your exercise, you will find your results improve more rapidly than they do if you do endurance training. So, what does that mean? A muscle-centric approach means you need to be lifting weight, and you need to be lifting weights 3 or 4 times a week. And you can do that at home and you can do that at the gym. It doesn't really matter, but I'm going to talk about the actual way that you do need to do it, which does actually matter. And remember, you're not going to get bulky. Building muscle will just make you toned. I remember I was in a club in the bathroom and women were looking at me going, she's really toned. And I was like, really wanting to say it's not toned, it's actually muscle. But that's what you find, I know, as a relatable language when we're talking about muscle, is looking toned. But really, underneath all that, what you're doing is putting on muscle. You want to get something called progressive overload, and that means consistently lifting heavier and heavier. And I'm not talking about light hand dumbbells here. I'm talking about lifting heavy and consistently getting heavier and heavier each week as you progress on. I often work with beginners and it's like, well, yeah, you might start off with no weight. Say you're doing squats, you might start off with squats on no weight at all and gradually build up so you're getting heavier and heavier. You may not be able to go heavy the first week that you start, but generally you want to be aiming to get heavier and heavier every single week. And that's what's called progressive overload. You also need to be getting in around the 8 to 12 repetition rate to get progressive overload, and you need to give yourself rest in between sets. But the main thing is you want to be consistently challenging your muscles. So some of the exercises which are great to include are body weight exercises. Push-ups, pull-ups are amazing for women over 40. You want to be getting your big compound lifts in, like your squats, your deadlifts, your push movements, your pull movements, your bench press even, and like things like rows. And if you can handle it, carry movements are absolutely amazing. But you can implement all that and still not see success because you're missing this one key ingredient I'm going to talk about now that women over 40 very often get wrong. You need to be eating the right amount of protein, which is roughly a gram of protein per pound in body weight. If you weigh over 170 pounds, shoot for your goal body weight. This is going to mean protein at every single meal and snack. Without doing this, lifting weights is not going to get you the results you desire. You can find out more about exercise and nutrition by taking part in my free workshop. It's a belly fat workshop and the link is in the description. Next, I'm going to talk about what kind of cardio actually complements weightlifting. So you don't raise your cortisol levels too much. You don't wear down your muscle, so you're not seeing progress with lifting weights. And you don't cause further inflammation in your body. The number one cardio exercise for women over 40 is walking. And if you want to 10x your results, It's like brisk walking, but even better is walking with a weighted vest. And that's what I do. And I recommend it to lots of clients of mine. You want to shoot for about 10% of your body weight with your weighted vest. That's like zone 2 cardio. It's easy on your joints, it's non-inflammatory, it's not going to raise your cortisol levels, it's not going to wear your muscle down. Now, there's one more form of cardio that you can do. I absolutely personally love this. I give it to my clients when they're fit enough to do that. And that's short bursts of intense cardio, which is known as high intensity interval training. Now, this is very different from endurance cardio, which endurance cardio is going for like long extended periods of time with quite high intensity. This is short bursts of like 30 seconds to a minute of intense, and then a minute to 2 minutes off, and then you go again. And you might do that for 20 minutes, for 30 minutes, a maximum of 45 minutes. This could be burpees, battle ropes, kettlebell swings, box jumps, and you do actually work your muscle as well while you're doing this. So it's really good for supporting lifting weights. But do use this sparingly. You don't want to be doing too much of this. I do one 45-minute session per week for maintenance. If you're wanting to lose body fat, you want to be doing it a bit more, maybe 3 times a week. But you don't have to do HIIT cardio. It all depends on your fitness levels, or maybe you just prefer to stick to walking, and that is absolutely okay. Just as long as you're consistently lifting weights 3 or 4 times a week, that is more important than anything else. So let's recap what we've learned in this video. What is better, cardio or weights? Lifting weights absolutely trumps cardio when it comes to fat burning for women over 40, and particularly addressing belly fat. There is a place for cardio, but not endurance training. So things like running and running for more than an hour, it's not going to do you any favors, but instead walking or small amounts of high intensity interval training. You should be prioritizing lifting weights over cardio and spending most of your time on this. However, remember, nutrition is really important if you want to see results. And if you want to find out more about both of those, please do join my free belly fat workshop. It's going to change your life, I promise you. So click the link in the description.